Tonight on KGW News, an ambulance at Portland's ICE facility blocked by federal agents.
Just an update, we are still not being allowed to leave by the ICE officers.
KGW investigates why paramedics say they were threatened with arrest. Plus, a new mission for the feds for some of Oregon's National Guard, where they're now headed that's far from Portland streets. Then,
I'm cautiously optimistic on what's happening here.
Why some neighbors who were staunchly against a new homeless shelter have now changed their minds. And later, while the early season snow already has them stoked,
no, I'm gonna keep coming here till the day I die, so.
The price tag to hit those slopes is about to get even steeper. Good evening, thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko. We begin with the next step in the legal battle over National Guard troops in Portland, which comes tomorrow morning. That is when a federal judge will consider whether to extend her order barring deployment. Though keep in mind the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has yet to weigh in. We'll have more on that in a moment. But first, protests continue nightly at Portland's ICE building, and some at the federal level aren't quite sure what to make of it.
Recently, the most threatening thing I've seen yet was the naked bicyclers in Portland who were protesting ICE down there. I mean, it's getting really ugly.
Well, that was House Speaker Mike Johnson today, referring to Sunday's naked bike ride protest across town and at the ICE facility. Johnson was asked if federal agents are using too much force and responded by saying it's those in the protest crowd that are the real threat. Tonight, our team coverage begins with Alma McCarty live at the South Waterfront with a look at the violence from a handful of protesters and the response from federal agents. Alma, how's it looking?
Yeah, well, David, I can tell you at this hour, things are pretty low key out here outside of the ICE facility. Now, as people know, protesters, they're here really night after night, but the group is relatively small. I'd say there's fewer people out tonight than there were last night. Now, this one block has seen its ups and downs in terms of the size and the intensity of the demonstrations and the reaction from the feds. As observed late Monday night, it doesn't take much for the federal response at the ICE facility to heat up. Flashbangs and pepper balls fired at protesters from the ground and on the roof. Clouds of tear gas waft through the street. KGW crews have observed these flare-ups for weeks, which sometimes result in a detainment, though not always a formal arrest. As of Tuesday, the United States Attorney's Office has charged 33 defendants with federal crimes. The latest, a Hillsborough resident named Samuel Westcott, facing a felony offense of assaulting a federal officer on Sunday. Court documents include screenshots of Westcott allegedly kicking an officer several times while being detained, after lunging at an agent while they were trying to clear the driveway. This arrest making up one of three from Sunday evening, according to DHS officials who said the, quote, rioters were arrested for spitting, kicking, and biting officers. Another one of those arrested, a member of the unprecedented brass band accused of assaulting a federal officer. Their fellow bandmates dispute that.
I just saw it out of the corner of my eye, just someone running, and then an officer running after them. And by the time I turned around, they were on the ground, and there was kind of a struggle. And from what I understand, an officer was kind of like up against, like holding, our friend Ori more or less against a fence. As of Tuesday, they're still on a DHS hold in the Clark County Jail.
Now, according to the FBI, and this is worth mentioning, that 190 people have either been, 194 I should say, have been either cited or arrested here outside of the ICE building. But of that number, only 17% have actually gone on to be federally charged. David, back to you.
All right, just 17% there. Alma McCarty putting it in perspective for us. Thank you, Alma. Well, this evening we are also learning more about reports that ICE agents blocked an ambulance trying to take an injured protester to the hospital earlier this month. Public records and dispatch audio show federal agents delayed an AMR ambulance for about 10 minutes as it was trying to leave the facility. On board, a protester who suffered a shoulder injury after agents allegedly tackled him.
1343, copy. You're attempting to transport code 1 to a manual impeded by protesters? No, not protesters, just the ICE officers.
Climate Week, citing confidential reports from the AMR medics that say federal agents also threatened to shoot and arrest the medic driving, claiming they had tried to drive forward and hit the agents when the medic says they were just trying to put the vehicle in park. AMR says a review is now underway. So far, Homeland Security has not responded to our request for comment. Okay, let's bring in Joe Ranieri in the newsroom now. Joe, some Oregon National Guard troops are now headed out, not to Portland streets, but on another assignment. What do we know?
Well, David, this afternoon there was a mobilization ceremony held in Salem as 60 Oregon National Guard members will be deployed to Texas, where they'll provide support along the U.S.-Mexico border. Just like what we're waiting on here in Portland, they'll fall under Title X, which means National Guard troops will be controlled by the Secretary of Defense. According to a spokesperson with the Oregon National Guard, they'll be supporting military police on the southern border, doing things like vehicle maintenance and supply distribution. As we've been telling you, in Portland, agents would be used to protect federal property. Now, Professor Tung Yin with Lewis and Clark tells me the border deployment would involve a bigger role.
So that, depending on what you're talking about doing, kind of looks a little bit more like they're moving beyond protection of federal property in terms of, and moving more toward helping carry out civilian law, which in this case would be the immigration laws.
Meanwhile, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals is still deciding whether the Guard can deploy here in Portland after hearing last Thursday. I also asked Professor Yin why it's taking so long for a decision to be made. He says in that case, 3 judges are viewing the case and they may have differing views. In one, for example, we're writing up a dissent opinion that could make the process take a little bit longer. In a different court, hearing is set for 11 a.m. tomorrow. Judge Karen Immigrant will be considering extending her temporary restraining order to block troop deployment, but a Ninth Circuit opinion could overrule that. David, back to you.
And of course, we'll report those details as they come in. Joe, appreciate the update there. Stay with KGW for continuing coverage of the latest developments when it comes to the National Guard in Portland. Look for updates anytime at KGW.com, on our mobile app, and on our free TV app, KGW+. New tonight, 6 weeks after a Pearl District homeless shelter opened amidst considerable pushback from neighbors, some of its most outspoken critics are now praising the city for its efforts. Catherine Cook is here with that update. Catherine?
David, the city says word of the shelter is spreading and more people are starting to use it. Both signs of growing trust among participants. And while critics aren't letting their guard down for the long run, they're encouraged by what they've seen so far.
A lot can happen in 6 weeks. Take this low-barrier overnight shelter in the Pearl District. It opened exactly 6 weeks ago to a lot of fear and doubt from neighbors, especially Todd Zarnitz.
Everybody's just going to turn off the lights and we're going to see this destabilize the community, and that's a very real fear.
As president of the Northwest District Association, Zarnitz led the effort to prevent the shelter from opening. But 6 weeks later,
right now, I think things are going in a positive direction.
Fear and doubt have made way for cautious optimism.
I think right now we're seeing good things, and we want that to continue. So, I've been very critical from the get-go, and the city has, to our surprise, lived up to a lot of what they said they were going to do.
That includes increasing patrols in the area and promptly clearing any unsanctioned camps. The Salvation Army runs the shelter. They say participation peaked Monday night with 68 people. About 80% of participants are repeats, but they're also getting 2 to 3 new guests every night. And as the temperatures dip, they expect that number to grow. As far as crime, the city says the shelter hasn't reported any incidents since opening. Neighbors we talked with aren't surprised.
We were talking earlier, we were just playing with the dog with no worries, and we're right here at the building, so I think it's going great.
I thought it was a good idea in the first place. My hope is that it continues to house more people.
Right now, capacity at the shelter is 100, but can expand to 200. Long-term, Zarnitz and the city hope those staying here can move on to something more stable, but they know it'll take more than 6 weeks.
Yeah, it took a long time to get here, and it's going to take a long time to get back. You know what I mean? Like, you just don't suddenly end up on the street, and you just don't suddenly end up back into society.
The city says right now overnight shelters aren't equipped to take in kids, so at times they've had to turn away families. But next month, they tell us they'll be opening 3 new shelters just for families. They haven't shared locations, but they'll be by referral only, not walk-up sites. David.
Yeah, thanks, Catherine. Appreciate the follow-up and glad to see things seem to be working so far. All right, let's give you a live look outside on this Tuesday night on yet another beautiful fall day, although things are once again cooling off considerably overnight. Chief Meteorologist Matt Savino is back with us with a first look at your weather impact forecast. Hey there, Matt.
Hey, David. Yeah, it is a beautiful night out there and a cool one, too. No surprise with the coolest days we've been having. Here's Vancouver, our camera at the Springs at the waterfront. Down to 53 right now, but notably the east winds have ended there. Temperatures around the region all in the low 50s and some upper 40s, even down to 47 so far. At Beaverton, 44 in Scappoose, they're down to 45 in Corvallis. So we're getting there, and Hood River already getting close to the 30s. So it is going to be another cool night, and for that reason, we've got some advisories for you. Portland, interestingly enough, 6 degrees cooler tonight compared to last night, largely because the east wind is backed off. Other places are a bit warmer, interestingly enough. Around the state, though, no huge differences between last night and tonight at this time. Winds, though, again, they're still easterly Troutdale, but only 8 miles an hour. So the strong east winds that we had are backing off. They haven't ended completely, but even at the coast, the winds are basically really quite light. Great look at the time lapse looking south from Timberline of those east winds. See those clouds? They didn't really develop vertically at all. Very dry air over us, but they really show the east wind as it was blowing through the passes. So we've got some advisories and warnings to talk about. The purple area, parts of the Columbia Basin and the upper Hood River Valley under a freeze warning tonight for temperatures at 32 and below. The Willamette Valley from about Canby and Aurora southward under a frost advisory. So frost will likely be pretty widespread. Does not include the Portland area proper, though. We won't get quite cold enough, but some of the valleys out in the Coast Range will certainly do that. So again, a frosty morning. This will be one of our coldest nights of the year so far. But warm, dry days for the rest of the work week. Don't worry, if you're missing the rain, it comes back, of course, over the weekend. More on that, David, in a bit.
Yeah, it's definitely October. Thanks, Matt. To get you caught up on tonight's other headlines now, a search is underway for a Forest Grove man who disappeared from his home this morning. Police say they talked briefly on the phone with 78-year-old Thomas Waitman, who told them he'd fallen and did not know where he was. Search crews were out near his home on Valley Crest Way and Circle Crest Drive throughout the evening, but did not find any sign of him. This is the outfit he was wearing when he was last seen. If you know where Thomas Waitman is, immediately call 911. An Alaska Airlines flight from PDX to Dallas was diverted to Boise this morning after a passenger allegedly assaulted crew members. Police say 61-year-old Tracy Barkheimer of White Salmon was acting erratically and hit 2 airline employees who tried to calm her down. She was restrained on the plane and arrested on the ground. She now faces 2 counts of misdemeanor battery and has been banned from flying Alaska. And roughly 4,000 Kaiser Permanente nurses and other healthcare workers in the Portland metro are now on strike for 5 days. Workers say they want to be paid on par with other hospitals and have better working conditions.
So what we're asking for is a fair, market competitive contract that will allow us to retain and recruit staff. We're not asking for the moon here. We're just asking to be equal to the others systems that are in Portland.
Kaiser says it is bargained in good faith, saying, quote, "A strike is unnecessary when a generous offer is on the table. It's designed to disrupt the lives of our patients, the very people we are all here to serve." It's now been brought in some temporary workers to fill the roles and moved other staff around. Kaiser adding while medical centers will remain open, some appointments may need to be rescheduled.